Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So today I wanted to do something I normally try not to do too much of, which is I'm going to be doing a little bit of complaining today. Not about the meta or anything like that, but specifically about the most recent event, which was the Fusion Cup. Well, I think by the time this video goes out, it'll actually be the Theme Chronicle going on, but... No, Fusion Cup, I gotta say, this is the first time, as far as I can remember, there might have been other instances where maybe I missed out on 100 gems here or there, but this is the first time I can think of going back to any event in Master Duel, and I've been playing since the beginning, where I did not grind it out and finish it. So even though I do like to buy gems from time to time when they're on sale, I typically just grind out events, and I'm mostly a free-to-play player on my main account. I might, again, buy discounted gems maybe like 2 or 3 times a year, but no, the latest event really, I stopped at D level 14. I couldn't. I was just done with the back and forth. I think there were a couple of things that really missed for me in this latest event. Things that I've seen other people talk about as well, but things that I was definitely feeling while I was playing in the event. You know, it's interesting that in a lot of events they choose to ban cards like Maxi or sometimes even Fualos, but as we're getting hit with both Maxi and Fua here, I will say though, this was still a pretty good back and forth game. I had a Fua as well, and my opponent here, WWW, it was a good back and forth. GG's. But yeah, no, that is one thing where it's like, I try not to complain about cards like Maxi too much, but I do also appreciate, you know, playing in the event format where typically you don't have to worry about that kind of a thing. And, you know, for the Cup, I get that they want to maximize competitiveness, which is why they don't hit as many cards in the ban list. But at the same time, this isn't really a format I'm interested in expanding on competitively. So I think it's fine to ban a lot more of these nuisance cards. And I think the latter statement I just made really does highlight a lot of why this was a whiff for me. You know, when they take these events that are typically just like, you know, reserved for festivals where it's one summoning method and nothing else, and make it a cup, they're trying to add this competitive spin that I'm honestly really not interested in even a little bit. And I think the Fusion Cup was triply so for me because I gotta say, of all the extra deck summoning methods, Fusion summoning is honestly my least favorite. But even when we had the Synchro Cup, right, and Synchro is by far my most favorite method of extra deck summoning, I still didn't even try to make it to the second stage, you know, let alone grind out the rewards, because it's just not something I'm interested in for like cosmetics. I get that you know, only a few hundred people get the you know, icon borders or whatever, you know, the prize is, but it's just not worth it. It's not worth it at all, and it's not something that I want to do in that capacity. But again, for this event in particular, I stopped at D level 14. I tapped out. I said I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah, I really don't like being restricted to only one extra deck summoning method, even when it is synchro summoning my favorite. You know, I really value having that kind of variety in not only the decks that are available to play, but also even within a particular deck in general. That's why I'm using like a you know, Tearlaments, Azamina, Fiendsmith, Horus pile deck here in the Fusion Cup. I'm really not interested in just playing something like, you know, branded, nerfed branded at that. Because that's another thing that I thought was pretty wild about this event, was just the fact that they allowed, okay, so here's the thing. I actually like that they allowed certain cards from other summoning methods that support archetypes, because as I just mentioned, I really value having that kind of variety in a deck. So it's crazy to me that branded doesn't get to have Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. Like, it just felt like such a middle finger to the, you know, the group of people, branded players, who I feel like would be most down to grind out an event like this. If they want to play their deck, they have to do so with a nerfed version of it. Which, don't get me wrong, branded is still really good even without Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. It's just kind of weird to me that, like, you know, Cyber Dragons can have Cyber Dragon Infinity, Fiendsmith can have their links, but, you know, branded can't have Ecclesia. That seems like a miss for me. As someone who's not even a branded or Fusion fan, that reads like an obvious miss to me. So I really do think that, especially if you're gonna do a cup format, Konami really could do better as far as like picking a good event for the cup format. But is the cup format even one worth exploring? I don't know. I think it would be if, as I just mentioned, you know, the format was a lot more interesting, right? I'm somebody who's very competitively minded. I'm always down for a good tournament / competition, but it's got to be one that's fun to play in for me at the same time. And again, even when it comes to my favorite summoning methods, I don't like being restricted to only one extra deck summoning method. I think it's kind of, I don't think it's good event design at this point. You know, our literal first event ever in Master Duel was the Xyz Festival. You can only Xyz summon. And it's been so many years, we've had so many events where it's like, all right, it's ranked ladder, but you can only link summon. Oh, you can only link and fusion summon. Oh, you can only synchro and Xyz summon. It's just like, I'm over it. I'm really over it. I'm really looking for different alternate formats that are actually like that feel worth exploring because there's variety to them, right? NR is always going to be the crowning sort of achievement of that. Was, I think, actually like the second ever event in Master Duel, and they got it so right and then never revisited it because it doesn't actually incentivize you to spend UR craft points or gems for packs, i.e. money, right? And it really does suck that we got a taste of greatness only to never revisit it. An NR Cup would be super interesting. You could make a lot of really good content out of that. Not that I'm only thinking about content, right? When I'm thinking about, you know, ways to improve the game, but there would be so much talk and buzz around that. Why not introduce Genesis as a cup? Granted, I think you could and should just introduce Genesis as like an alternate ranked ladder as well, but Genesis Cup would be another great way to explore a format that's new to a lot of players, especially people like me who only play Master Duel. What's another one? I was going to say Limit 1, but I do feel like we've kind of reached a power creep point where, you know, Limit 1 decks last time around were actually super consistent. No, I was actually going to say retro formats. I think retro formats would be another slam dunk as far as like making the festival into a full-fledged cup, right? Because a lot of people really, really like retro formats. Not even for nostalgia purposes. There are, of course, some genuinely great formats to play. I don't think I need to tell you about Edison or GOAT format. GOAT, I think, is kind of boring personally, but it's still a fun format, you know, in the grand scheme of things. And it would be different, because that's the thing, right? When you've got, you know, the restriction on fusion plus a couple of other cards in the extra deck, it's not really a case of like, oh, what cool new decks can I explore and try building? It's like, all right, what are the best decks that only use fusion summoning? And then you bring them to this event, right? Branded, Luna Light. You can still play fun stuff like GMX, like my opponent's doing here, but I mean, to be fair, they're down here with me at D level 14. Although, I don't know, you gotta assume that a lot of people who are down here probably just are trying to get the gems last minute. But I mean, the day I'm recording this is the 15th, and I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna play any more Fusion Festival. I'm done. Or Cup, sorry. I'm not gonna play any more Fusion Cup. I'm done. And I think I'm leaving 400 gems on the table. Or is it only 300? 200, 1... I think it's actually 400. I think I'm leaving 400 gems on the table. But, like, I don't know. I think about the value of 400 gems in the game, right? And it's like the amount of time I would have to put in to make those 400 gems, which comes out to, I don't know, like under $10 USD. I'm like, no, I'm good. I value my time more highly than that. You know, the little bit of free time that I get, I would like to spend doing things that I would actually want to do. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I really try not to make videos in this format. I think last time I did was when Malice was big and I talked about how boring it was to play with and against. For this, I know I've actually made videos about events specifically in the past, but yeah, I really, really hope that at some point in the future, Konami makes more of an effort to make the events more interesting, especially if they're going to be cups. I don't think they will. I think we're just going to get, you know, a yearly cycle of extra deck summoning methods, legend anthology theme collection, whatever I always mix those two up, whatever those two are called. Which, for those events, I don't know, because the one's based on solo mode decks and the other's based on anime decks. I think there is some potential there. That is another alt format that I was thinking of. It's Theme Chronicle and Legend Anthology. That's what they're called. Legend Anthology, I believe, is the anime one. And I think that there could be some potentially interesting stuff there if you are only looking at, like, if you go by generation, you know, they've done events in the past where it's like Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Triangle Cup, right? Why not have like DM, GX, and 5D's Triangle Cup or something like that, where you lock into one of those generations, not just with cards released up to that point, because obviously the later generations have advantage, but like, you know, if you pick DM era, you could play Dark Magician with the later Dark Magician support, you know? If you pick GX, you can play Heroes, like, with all the hero support, so on and so forth. That would be an interesting way to do an event that already uses two pre-existing formats, but I don't know. I really, honestly, at this point, sort of run out of faith that Konami's going to try to do anything remotely cool or interesting when it comes to festivals. And again, you know, thinking about retro formats, that's another thing we've already seen them do in time trials. I just don't understand why they keep, you know, some of the more interesting ideas limited to time trials, which are only 3 days, only ever give out one pack as a reward, and as a result, really don't have any actual incentive for you to like craft URs for them or try to grind them out. I'll tell you this much, if there were like multiple retro format cups up to this point, I'd probably have a lot of old school UR staples crafted by now, you know, stuff like Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, etc. If those events were actually in rotations, that would incentivize me, the consumer, to actually spend resources, which i.e. could lead to money, on that type of event. So it really is kind of baffling to me why they don't even try to do something like that, but I don't know. I don't run a small indie company like Konami, so who knows what I have to say, right? Yeah, I did try to pick out some of my more interesting Fusion Cup games to sort of yap over here. Just wanted to have, you know, something in the background for you to look at. And I'm not going to lie, it did have some pretty decent back and forth, especially that first one against WWW and then this one here against GMX. But at the end of the day, it's not nearly enough to get me to, because the whole time I was like, you know, doing this, trying to get up to D level 15, trying to get those gems, I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I wish I was on regular ranked playing Mitsurugi, or, you know, hang out with my partner, or going for a walk, or doing literally anything else. So, I don't know. Anyway, these are the games that I got here. I will show you my deck list here as well. This is the one that was pretty similar to the last Fusion Cup video I did. I did add Dragoons because someone in the comments was like, why is Dragoons not in here with the DMOD? And I was like, oh yeah, I knew I was forgetting a search target. I think I even made a comment like when I was deck building, like, oh, is Magician Soul is really the only thing we can get here. And I'm sure, you know, folks were screaming at their screen. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say at this point. Thanks for hearing me out, especially all the way to the end of the video. Super appreciate that. But that'll do it for now. So let's go ahead and sign out, and also thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.